name is Michelle Liu. I'm a civil engineering grad from 2018, and I'm currently pursuing my master's degree in civil engineering, which I will be finishing this year, which I'm very excited about. I'm here to tell you a little bit more about my experience as a woman in engineering, especially at U Waterloo. So, a little bit about me. I was born and raised in Montreal. I moved to Ontario for grades 11 and 12. So if you're hearing an accent, that's my little Quebecer, Westbounder English accent. So just bear with me on that. Like I said, I completed my degree in civil engineering at UW in 2018, and I'll be completing my master's this year. Just a few photos here for you to kind of see what who I am and what I do. So I'm very outdoorsy. I loved orientation week. I was orientation leader multiple times after that, which I'll talk more about in the slides following. And then, like I said, I graduated in 2018, and that's one of the fun photos to get you to pose for that go on to a class composite. So let's dive right in. Why U Waterloo? So it's top ranked, as most of you would know. So you're getting that exceptional education. And then the cost of living in Waterloo, which is something that I especially chose Waterloo for, compared to Toronto or Montreal or Vancouver. So you're saving a little bit more by living in Waterloo. And then we also have a unique co-op program. So you're getting that income plus the experience, which counts towards your PEng license later on. And then two of the things that I especially was fond of was the cohort system, which really gives you a sense of community, as you can see in these photos. Kind of hard to tell, but these are all the same faces that I was with throughout my undergrad. So this is 1A, 3A, 2A, and all the way up to 4B. So you're with the same group of people and you become like family. So despite being, a class of 140, you really get to know each other over the 5 years. And then lastly, the direct entry program. So all of our programs are direct entry, and so you're starting to get specialized right off the bat. So you're not spending first year, a year or even a year and a half doing, general math or general science. They get you to dive right in. So yeah, some of the reasons why I chose U Waterloo. And then I really highlighted the low cost of living in the city of Waterloo and all that. So I want to talk a little bit more about the city of Waterloo. I guess people from Toronto, Montreal, growing up in Montreal, I never heard of Waterloo, the city of Waterloo, but it's really quite the city, and I've enjoyed living here over the last 7 years. And so lower cost of living means that you can live in a nicer place, go out more often, or build more savings, depending on what your goals are. And there is free public transit with your student card, which I know isn't the case in a lot of other cities. And we now have the ION rapid transit as well. So that takes you from Waterloo to Kitchener quite quickly. So you're not limited to just the city of Waterloo, which is the map I'm showing here, but you're also quite connected to the city of Kitchener, which has a myriad of other things that you can explore. For those who worry about moving to the middle of nowhere and not having access to, the important things in life, like the Apple Store and Lululemon and Sephora, well, we have all that here. So at the Conestoga Mall, which you can access by bus, by rapid transit, and there are 144 stores in the mall, and that's within 3 kilometers of campus. And there's even great places to eat, like the Keg, Moxie's, Milestone, all you can eat sushi, Korean barbecue, you name it, we've got it. So do not worry. This is a city that is, not very different from Toronto, just, minus the traffic jams. Okay, a little bit about co-op. So something that I found a little bit daunting about Waterloo when I was coming in was the co-op system and how the streams work. So just want to quickly present a little bit about that. So it's an alternating cycle, and jobs are found using something called Waterloo Works. So we actually have an internal platform. So you're not just going to like monsters.ca or Indeed. This is a specialized Waterloo platform that you can go onto and search for your employment positions. And it's quite a user-friendly system compared to what we used to have. So self-arranged employment are also permitted. So if you come from a family with other people in your field, perhaps you would be looking to do that, and that's also permitted and encouraged. I was in stream 8, so civil engineering is a Stream 8 program. And so I started by doing 2 terms of school back to back, as you can see here, 1A, 1B is back to back. And then I went on to co-op in the summer, or spring, so May to August, and then back to school, co-op. So it's either 2 terms back to back in the beginning or 2 terms back to back at the very end. So, okay, so a little bit more about the unique co-op system, and I'm not too sure how updated these numbers are, but they've been in that range for a bit. So there are over 6,300 employers, 6,300 employers, and 16,000 job postings. And there are months when we conduct up to 15,000 interviews on campus and off campus with Waterloo students. And you're looking at earnings of from between 17 per hour to up to, well, an average of 27.95 per hour. And the range is really quite broad, so these are averages. So it depends on the program that you're in and what other experiences you've had. And we do have 140 on-campus professionals that are dedicated to the co-op program and, and supporting our students on co-op and sourcing new employers. And so these are all resources that make our co-op program very successful. Okay, so a little bit more about my co-op history. So as a woman in engineering, I've done quite a few co-ops in construction and field work, and that's something that I love. And that's a passion that I found through co-op, because growing up, I didn't really have a lot of exposure to construction, but through co-op and through just being put into it, early on, I thought, oh, this is what I want to do. So my first co-op, I went abroad. I went to Taipei and actually got to work for a company that had their office in Taipei 101. So I got to hang out there for a bit, and that was a great experience. So I got exposure to project management, to construction on that co-op. And then when I was looking for my second co-op, I looked deliberately for a job that had more field exposure. So construction again. So I went to the MTO, or the Ministry of Transportation of Ontario, and I was a highway engineering assistant there. And I got to do a lot of contract administration, which is just a nicer word for saying going on site and making sure the contract is being administered and followed. So a lot of testing, inspection, and that kind of stuff. So in that picture, I'm sampling in the Co-op 2 MTO photo, I'm sampling road salt to make sure that contractors have the right content of various chemicals that go into their salt pile. Co-op 3, I went to the SNC-Lavalin. And again, I was something along construction engineering assistant, and so I got to be on site again. And so I was mostly a pavement engineering site inspector, and so got to measure the thickness of pavement here, as you can see here. Got to make sure they're compacting it to the right extent, and so on. So that was also a great experience. And then for my fourth co-op, I actually stuck around. So I stayed on campus and worked with our advancement team. And that was right up my alley as well, because I had been an engineering ambassador with that team for 4 terms or so prior to that. So I got to hold the role of director prior to that co-op term, during that co-op term, and following that co-op term as well. So I got extensively involved with the ambassadors, which was a nice change from construction and from the industry. So. And then for my 5th co-op, I decided to roll back into the office and learn some design. So I got a position that was mostly doing design drafting and more meeting with clients in the office. So I got to take my field experience and come back into the office and really apply that. So that was a great experience as well. And then for my last co-op, I couldn't help it but want to go out to the field again. So I got a job that was a little bit more construction oriented again, and where I was in charge of 4 construction sites in Cambridge. So you can kind of see how you rise through the ranks from even between your first co-op and your last co-op. So my first co-op, I was very much an assistant. I helped with paperwork. I helped, I wasn't given a lot of responsibilities, but by my last co-op, I was able to go on site alone. I was able to administer the contracts on my own and oversee contractors on 4 different sites on my own. So yeah, that's kind of my co-op history. And I hope that, inspires those out there, girls and women out there who are curious about construction and who want, who are thinking about it, to continue thinking about it and to pursue maybe a degree in civil or even just engineering in general. So there is a place for women in engineering. So onto my campus involvement, which was quite extensive. And that's also another reason why I thought Waterloo was a great place for me. I really found myself through getting involved. And so why get involved? It's fun and rewarding. And if it's not fun for you, I would say don't do it. It's supposed to be fun, not just a resume builder. So it also helped me really establish a school life balance. So, if you go to campus just to go to the lab or to go to the library and to work, then that kind of makes school just about that. Whereas getting involved on campus made me have other reasons to go to campus. So that really helped with, the school life balance and a less monotonous campus life. I also met a lot of close friends like Abdullah here from the Engineering Society through getting involved. So you're building your social network. You're building lifelong friends that are, not just in your program, but that are across the faculty, which can be great. And so a friend of mine actually from mechanical engineering now works in San Francisco, and I've had the pleasure of visiting them. And that's somebody I met through getting involved. So professional networking is another one. So a lot of your peers, or even when you're in lower years, a lot of your upper year peers, colleagues, go on to be, industry professionals that you'll run into when you go out in the field or when you go out into the industry, sorry. And they could be your boss, they could be looking to hire, and that's when you can say, hey, remember me? Remember when we did this event together, when we were at the fall open house together? And they'll say, yeah, okay. And then that, warrants you another take at your resume, for example. And speaking of resume building is, of course, something that you can do by getting involved, but that, again, shouldn't be the reason you do it. And then lastly, character development. I think I grew a lot and learned a lot about myself, about others, about how to work with people, about what people want, and that's all through getting involved. And a lot of those skills are ones that you don't necessarily get a lot of by just going through the program without doing anything outside of class. So in undergrad, I was the president of the Civil, Environmental, and Geological Engineering Society, which is sort of the sub-society under Engineering Society within my department. And then I was also a council member and member of board of directors for the Waterloo Engineering Endowment Fund. I was also an academic representative for my class of 140 students, not 20. And those are all roles I held for multiple years in a row. And then I was also a director of engineering ambassadors, like I mentioned, and I held that role for 3 consecutive terms. And that was one of my favorite experiences. And then I've also been an orientation director multiple times. So those are some of the things I've been involved with. I have a different list of involvements now in my master's, but these are the possible things people can get involved with in undergrad. So just some photos to kind of go through those roles, just so you have an idea of what they look like. So orientation directorship is very rewarding. It's very compact. It's very condensed. So you work for about, depending on the directorship, but in my role, I was a food director and a media director at the same time. So I worked for about 90 hours leading up to orientation week, and then another maybe 50 or 60 during the week in our headquarters, editing videos and filtering through photos and updating social media and really making sure that students are engaged and want to participate. So engineering ambassadors, these are photos from throughout the years. You'll see like Fall Open House and RCH. That's Ontario University Fair, different Ontario University Fair, another Fall Open House. And then on the left is, I think, a March Break Open House from 2013 or 14 in E5 on the E5 staircase. So great networking, great. I've met a lot of the staff and advancement like Ryan and Pierre through these roles. And again, that ties back to the social networking, the professional networking, and then really just having fun and feeling rewarded. So, and then something that was very meaningful to me personally, it was the Civil, Environmental, and Geological Engineering Society, because that was a society that I founded. So we originally had a chapter that was a part of the Canadian Society for Civil Engineering, and but that didn't really include the other two programs that were in my department at the time. So I actually built a society out of that student chapter that is now well established. And it was nice to be able to stay for my master's and still see how that society is doing. And they're well established. They have industry nights with a dozen industry partners. They fundraise. They still do large scale field trips, like the pictures on the right here, where we went to the Pearson International Airport and were able to have a escorted visit on the runway. So that was pretty neat. And then lots of other things like fundraisers, guest lectures, and all that. So yeah, so what have I gained? So some of the things that I got out of getting involved, people are always like, well, it kind of sounds like free labor, you give all this time and you don't really get much in return, except for other than, it being rewarding and having fun. What else do you get from it? So I got that student chapter that I founded that I was talking about. We actually got awarded the best student chapter in Canada in 2017. And then I've also personally gotten various scholarships that more are to do with your service, your community leadership. So I've been able to secure those awards just based on having all these involvements on my resume. So I thought that was for people who are looking for concrete reasons to get involved, those are it. Okay, and lastly, I just have a couple of slides on my fourth year design project. So I know you're all early on and, applying, thinking about, first year, your first co-op. Nobody's quite, I guess, at this point yet thinking about this, but this is one of the great reasons to do engineering, because you get to have this capstone, really hands-on applied design project at the end that kind of ties together everything that you've learned. So it's a great way to have it's almost like an overview of your program. So for my fourth year project, I actually worked on a real project in collaboration with the government of the Northwest Territories, and we got this opportunity through a good relationship with a faculty member in my department due to campus involvement. So that again ties back to one of the perks of getting involved. And so through this collaboration, we were paid for to travel up to Yellowknife, to take samples in the field, to do a flyover of the future site. So this was a new road that they were looking to build. And so there was nothing around there in existence yet at this part of the land. So we had to fly there to be able to see what's currently out there. And so that's a chartered flight that could carry about 8 people. So we were on that flight to go out to site with the government, which was awesome. And flying about 100 meters off the ground is quite the experience, I must say. So yeah, and then we got to spend some free time in life as well. So another perk, I guess, of knowing people and getting these extraordinary projects, and then getting to travel. So which I thought was pretty unique for an undergraduate capstone group. So our goal was to design, do a conceptual design of the road, and then a bridge that's sitting on badly permafrost ground, and this is to connect to some remote communities that are in the north, along with 2 active mines. So, and like I said, we had a fully funded site visit that we fully made use of on our free day off. So what's next for me as a woman in engineering after we've talked about all this? Well, I'm going to confer, hopefully, for my master's degree. I actually had my master's defense on Friday before things were closed down. So luckily, I got it in, and then hopefully I'm looking to go to law school, which I've applied to for this coming fall. And my goal really is to be a construction litigator, and that's really from the amount of time I've spent in construction and seeing how much of it comes down to liability, and for finding out who did what wrong. And so yeah, it's kind of a twisted and interesting take on a career passion, but that's what I'm looking to get into. So, and I think I have what it takes. So that concludes my presentation, and that's how you can reach me if you'd like to chat more about anything I said. Thank you.